deep and cause him great pain, great unhappiness, it says actually. Viraha duk is said here. Duk is unhappiness, of separation. So that's Thanna Shukka Hetu Sange Rahi Dui Jana Krishna Rasha Shloka Gite Korena Shantwana. Two people, Ramanand Roy and Sripad Damodar Goswami, stayed with the Lord to pacify him by reciting various verses about Krishna's pastimes and by singing appropriate songs for his satisfaction. So Radharani's separation from Krishna, and in Vrindavan, her two principal associates, Lalita and Vishakha, is Sripad Damodar and Ramanand Roy, respectively. So they would be with the Lord and pacify him by songs and verses about Krishna, and somewhat pacify his deep unhappiness of separation. Shubar Jaichi Purve Krishna Sukara Sahoy Gaura Shukodana Hitu Thaichi Ramarai. Previously, when Lord Krishna was personally present, Subal, one of his coward boyfriends, gave him happiness when he felt separation from Radharani. Similarly, Ramanand Roy helped give happiness to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In another place it's mentioned Ramanand Roy's Arjun. That's, I believe, the Pandava Arjun, correct? Not the Gopa Arjun. There's another Gopa friend of Krishna called Arjun. But so here, Subal is one of the Priyanama Shakas, and he would give happiness to Lord Krishna when he felt separation from Radharani. Similarly, Ramanand Roy helped give happiness to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purve Jaichi Radhar Lalito Shahai Pradhan Thaiche Swarup Goshaya Rakke Ma Prabhur Pran. Previously, when Srimati Radharani felt the pangs of separation from Krishna, her constant companion Lalita kept her alive by helping her in many ways. Similarly, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt Radharani's emotions, Sripad Damodar Goswami helped him maintain his life. Ei dui jonor saubhagya kahana no joy, Prabhur antorango boli chande lokke gai. To describe the fortunate position of Ramananda Rai and Sripad Damodar Goswami is extremely difficult. They were renowned as intimately confidential friends of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ei motto vihare gaura lana bhaktagan, Raghunatha milon ebi shunna bhaktagan. The Lord thus enjoyed his life with his devotees. O devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, now hear how Raghunath Das Goswami met the Lord. Purve Shanti Pure Raghunatha Jobe Oila Mahaprabhu Kripakari Thanne Shikaila. When Raghunath Das, during his family life, went to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Shantipur, the Lord gave him worthy instructions by his causeless mercy. You remember he said, don't be impetuous, was the word he used. Impetuous means impulsive, doing something on impulse without thinking about it. So he said, don't be impetuous, stay with your family, look after your elderly parents for now, as a dutiful boy of your house. And later on, when the time is right, you will come to be with me. So, Prabhur Shukate Teno Nijo Ghare Joy Markotubara Guchadi Haile Vishai Prai. Instead of becoming a so-called renunciant, Raghunath Das, following the instructions of the Lord, returned home and played exactly like a pounds and shillings man. Remember, his family was a very wealthy family of Bengal at the time, and his uncle was the treasurer of the governor. Muslim government. People in those days working for the Muslim government, which was government at the time, including Rup and Sanatan, of course, before they left their posts. And even when he left his post, Sanatan Goswami, or Dabe Rakash, as his name, was under that regime. And the king, the governor, he liked him very much, and he was very upset, why he's leaving. He's such a good person and a very capable minister. And when Sanatan then was at home and reading the Bhagavatam with devotees, and he came into that meeting, everybody stood up. Srila Prabhupada said they all stood up because even though he was a Mlech and Yavana, still, by the mercy of the Lord, by his good karma, he got the position as governor. Remember in Gita, Krishna says, among men I am the monarch. So they offered that respect. And this was because Sanatan kept sending sick notes in, saying, I can't come to work, I'm sick. But, after so many times, he thought, what is this? This can't be true. Huh?
I'm isolating, can't come to work.
Yeah. So then Sanatan had to tell him, frankly, I can't work for you anymore, and he became upset and imprisoned him. He imprisoned Sanatan Goswami, and then, as you know, Sanatan escaped the prison. He bribed the guard, and that's another chapter, Chaitanya Charitamrita. But
is it that the king sent some people to research what he's doing?
Yes.
And when he went there, he's in the surrounding of the pandits discussing Bhagavatam and studying things. Yeah, he's not sick.
Of course, yeah. Yes, and then in prison, he got out of prison by bribing the guard by diplomacy, saying you're a very nice person, a very pious person, and this will be very good if you let me out of prison. This will give you great merit, spiritual merit. And he offered him money as well as a bribe, So this shows for the service of the Lord, we can do what's necessary sometimes, for the purpose of maintaining, the Lord's service. And that was, of course, in a particularly extreme situation where he had to meet the Lord and get connected with the Lord very quickly as he wanted to. So this is, Kaviraj Goswami says here, instead of becoming a so-called renunciant, the actual word used, the phrase is markat vairagya. Markat means monkey. Do you remember in the example of the monkey and the kitten, right? Markat anyai. Yeah, the monkey holds on to the mother, and the mother goes here and there. And in this way, the monkey is doing something. He's utilizing his free will to some extent by holding on to the mother. Whereas in the case of the kitten is simply remaining completely passive, and then the mother is taking the kitten by the neck and going here and there. And so Guru Maharaj said, when they asked him, he said, well, we're more like the monkey. We're keeping ourselves, quote unquote, in Krishna consciousness, or at least connected with the concept of Krishna consciousness, in the same way that the flower, by turning its face towards the sun, by following the sun, in one sense is passive, but in another sense is active, doing something, just by keeping itself in particular relation to the sun. So it's always within the rays of the sun, the heat and light of the sunlight, by moving its head, something doing. Though externally may not appear very active. And of course in the later stage or higher stage, it may also be like the kitten. One is completely moved like a puppet, as it were, by Krishna. But interestingly, when they asked Srila Gurudev this, it's in Revealed Truth, they repeated that question. They didn't say what Guru Maharaj had said, but they said, in this example of the monkey and the kitten, what do you say? Are we like the monkey or like the kitten? And he said, showing his great originality of thought, not just parroting what Guru Maharaj had said. He said, well, actually, we're really like neither, because both the monkey and the kitten, they're animals, so they're acting on instinct. But our surrender should be a conscious type of surrender to the Lord. That's another way of looking at it as well. So Raghunath Das Goswami stayed with his family at that time, and then he eventually escaped. That story is also told. They put the guards on the door. Yes, it's telling now. Yeah. Raghunath Das, Bitare Varag Bohire Kore Sarva Karm Dekyoto Matto Pittor Onanditaman. Raghunath Das was inwardly completely renounced, even in family life, but he did not express his renunciation externally. Instead, he acted just like an ordinary businessman. Seeing this, his father and mother were satisfied. When he received a message that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had returned from Mathura city, Raghunath Das endeavoured to go to the lotus feet of the Lord. At that time, there was a Muslim official collecting the taxes of Saptagram. Okay, so you had the federal government, and then you had the local government of each province. So Bengal there was a province, and there so you had there were appointed tax collectors who would collect the taxes from all the local landowners of the different parts, and then they would deliver that to the central government treasury. And of course, they would take their profit from that, take some commission, I guess you could say, from that. When Hiranya Das, Raghunath Das's uncle, made an agreement with the government to collect taxes, the Muslim Chaudhuri, or tax collector, having lost his position, became extremely envious of him. So in this way, the government preferred the Hindu Hiranya Das, uncle of Raghunath Das, to the Muslim guy. He's more qualified. So the Muslim tax collector became very envious. Hiranya Das was collecting 2 million coins, and therefore should have delivered 1.5 million to the government and keeping the balance for himself. Instead, he was giving only 1,200,000, thus making an extra profit of 300,000 coins. Seeing this, the Muslim Chaudhuri, who was a Turk, became his rival. After sending a confidential account to the government treasury, the Chaudhuri brought the minister in charge. The Chaudhuri came wanting to arrest Hiranya Das, but Hiranya Das had left home. Therefore, the Chaudhuri arrested Raghunath Das. So the uncle had fled the nest, fled the coop, so he arrested the nephew in his place. Probably it's in law like that, Could be, I don't know. But every day the Muslim would chastise Raghunath Das and tell him, "Bring your father and his elder brother, otherwise you will be punished." The Chaudhuri wanted to beat him, but as soon as he saw Raghunath's face, his mind changed and he couldn't beat him. Indeed, he was afraid of Raghunath Das because Raghunath Das belonged to the Kayast community. Although the Chaudhuri would chastise him verbally, he was afraid to beat him.
Kayast means warrior. Kayast.
No, the Kayast is a mercantile class, Vaishyas, but they're kind of respected as being very intelligent and expert in business, and therefore they were government officers. I believe also like Ramanand Rai was like that. And of course, we don't look in the way Vaishnav Najati, we don't see the Vaishnav as any particular caste, high or low, or anything like that, and particularly Vaishnavacharya, but we know Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami, of course, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his Member Bhaktivinoda was Kedarnath Datta, and Datta, like Srila Prabhupada, Swami Maharaj, was Day, his family name Day. Day and Datta are similar, they're Vaishya and Kayashta. So, because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was from non-Brahmin caste, then Srila Guru Maharaj, he said, in the beginning, I felt some reluctance to go there. Because of his background as Bhattacharya, Brahmin, and like that. But he said, but then when he met him in his association, he immediately understood this person is a Vaikuntha man, He's nothing of this world, He's actually, we would say, come down here, not come up to there, but he's come down to there from Krishna, so he gave up that idea. So in this way, the Muslim Chaudhary was afraid to didn't want to beat him because of that. In Bengal, the Kayashta community is honoured almost as much as the Brahmana community. But in the upcountry of India, the Kayashtas are considered Shudras because they generally eat meat and drink wine. In any case, historically the Kayashtas appear very intelligent. Thus the Muslim Chaudhary was afraid of Raghunath Das because he belonged to this community. That's the commentary. And the verse, while this was going on, Raghunath Das thought of a tricky method of escape. Thus he humbly submitted this plea at the feet of the Muslim Chaudhary. Amar pita jeta hoy tomar dui bhai 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 tomar kolah koras sarvadai. My dear sir, my father and his elder brother are your brothers. All brothers always fight about something. Sometimes brothers fight among themselves, and sometimes they're very friendly dealings. There's no certainty when such changes will take place. Thus, I'm sure that although today you are fighting, tomorrow you three brothers will be sitting together in peace. Just as I am my father's son, so I am also yours. I am your dependent, and you are my maintainer. For a maintainer to punish the person he maintains is not good. You are expert in all the scriptures. Indeed, you are like a living saint. He said, Tumi Saro Shastrajan, you know all the Shastras, Jinda Pira Prai. And you're like a saint. In Islam, we say sadhu, it's called pir. Who's a saint, a pir in Islam. When the Muslim heard Raghunath Das's appealing voice, his heart softened. He began to cry, and tears glided down his beard. Mrechabale, Aji hoite tumi mora putra, Aji chadaimu toma kori ekoshutra. He told Raghunath Das, you are my son from this day on. Today, by some means, I shall have you released. After informing the minister, the Chaudhary released Raghunath Das and then began to speak to him with great affection. Your father's elder brother is less intelligent, he said. He enjoys 800,000 coins, but since I'm also a shareholder, he should give some portion of it to me. Now you go and arrange a meeting between me and your uncle. Let him do whatever he thinks best. I shall completely depend on his decision. So Raghunath Das arranged a meeting between his uncle and the Chaudhary. The matter was settled and everything was peaceful. In this way, Raghunath Das passed 1 year exactly like a first-class business manager, but the next year he again decided to leave home. He got up alone one night and left, but his father caught him in a distant place and brought him back. This became almost a daily affair. Raghunath Das would run away from home and his father would again bring him back. Then Raghunath Das's mother spoke to his father as follows. Putta bhatul hoila, iha rakana bandhiya, tanna pita kahe tare nirvana hana. Our son has become mad, she said. Just keep him by binding him with ropes. His father, being very unhappy, replied to her as follows. Indra Shama Oishvaja Stri Apshara Sam Eshava Bandite Narilek Jandraman. Raghunath Das, our son, has opulences like Indra, the heavenly king, and his wife is as beautiful as an angel. Yet all this could not tie down his mind. How then could we keep this boy home by binding him with ropes? It's not possible, even for one's father, to nullify the reactions of one's past activities. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has fully bestowed his mercy on him. Who can keep home such a madman of Chaitanya Chandra? Then Raghunath Das considered something in his mind, and the next day he went to Nityananda Gosai. In the village of Panihati, Raghunath Das obtained an interview with Nityananda Prabhu, who was accompanied by many kirtan performers, servants and others. Sitting on a rock under a tree on the bank of the Ganges, Lord Nityananda seemed as effulgent as hundreds of thousands of rising suns. Many devotees sat on the ground surrounding him. Seeing the influence of Nityananda Prabhu, Raghunath Das was astonished. He offered his obeisances by falling prostrate at a distant place, and the servant of Nityananda Prabhu pointed out, "There is Raghunath Das offering you obeisances." Hearing this, Lord Nityananda Prabhu said, "Chori chora dili darshan, oi oi, aji toru korimu dandan. You're a thief, now you've come to see me. Come here. Today I shall punish you." The Lord called him, but Raghunath Das didn't go near the Lord. Then the Lord forcibly caught him and placed his lotus feet upon Raghunath Das's head. Lord Nityananda was by nature very merciful and funny. Being merciful, he spoke to Raghunath Das as follows: "Nikote naisha chora bhaga dure dure, aji lag bhanachi dondimu tomare." You are just like a thief, because instead of coming near, you stay away at a distant place. Now that I've captured you, I shall punish you. So he's being very funny, right? Normally it's a sign of humility to offer dandavats from a distance. But he didn't take it like that. He said, "You're like a thief, you're sneaking up on me, trying to get something. So, So he gave an order to Raghunath Das, "Make a festival and feed all my associates yogurt and chip rice." Hearing this, Raghunath Das was greatly pleased. Chipped rice, yeah, flat rice.
Is there a difference between chipped rice and regular rice? I was always wondering.
Yeah, chipped rice is chipped. It means it's broken rice, right?
Is it bad? Right?
Well, it's considered not very high class, So he ordered him to make a feast, but then again, in the mood of Nityananda Prabhu, again it was very simple, really, yogurt and chipped rice. He didn't say make a feast with 108 preparations and 5 chutneys, and could have said that, right? He was a rich boy, right? After all, with yogurt and chipped rice. So Raghunath Das immediately sent his own men to the village to purchase all kinds of eatables and bring them back. Yeah, so he took it quite liberally. He got other things as well. Chipped rice, yogurt, also milk, sweet, sugar, bananas, and other eatables. But it seemed to be more or less like sweets, yeah? Kind of thing, yeah. So he got all these things and he placed them all around in pots. As soon as they heard that a festival was going to be held, all kinds of Brahmins and other gentlemen began to arrive. Thus there were innumerable people. Seeing the crowd increasing, Raghunath Das arranged to get more eatables from other villages. He also brought 200 to 400 large round earthen pots. He also obtained 5 or 7 especially large earthen pots, and in these pots a Brahmin began soaking chipped rice for the satisfaction of Lord Nityananda. In one place, chipped rice was soaked in hot milk in each of the large pots. Then half the rice was mixed with yogurt, sugar and bananas. The other half was mixed with condensed milk and a special type of banana known as chanpa kala. Then sugar, ghee and camphor were added. After Nityananda Prabhu had changed his cloth for a new one and sat on a raised platform, the Brahmin brought before him the 7 huge pots. Okay, this is a Brahmin. It just doesn't mention his name, but he was one of those who'd come there, and he began to prepare all this chip rice in different ways for the pleasure of Lord Nityananda. On that platform, all the most important associates of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, as well as other important men, sat down in a circle around the Lord. Among them were Ramadas, Sundarananda, Gadadhar Das, Murari, Kamalakar, Sadashiva and Purandara. Dhananjay, Jagadish, Parameshwara Das, Mahesh, Gauri Das and Hoda Krishna Das were also there. Okay, these are being mentioned, they're called the 12 Gopas. Like Lord Balaram has his close cowherd boyfriends, just as Krishna has his group. Similarly, Udaran Dutt Thakur and many other personal associates of the Lord sat on the raised platform with Nityananda Prabhu. No one could count them all. Hearing about the festival, all kinds of learned scholars, Brahmins and priests went there. Lord Nityananda Prabhu honoured them and made them sit on the raised platform with him. Does this book have pictures in it?
No.
It tells you. It's a picture of this, I'll just show you. You know the picture, right? Lord Nityananda sitting on a raised platform with all the devotees around. When I was joining in Christian consciousness movement and I saw that picture, I thought it was Buddha. It looks like Buddha is sitting like that. I don't know if that one's here though. It's in the individual books picture, but it's not in this one. And there were so many there, they couldn't even fit. There were some on the platform, some on the ground in front of it, and they went right down to the bank of the Ganges, and some were actually even standing in the water to having the darshan of the Lord and the festival. Okay. So everyone was offered 2 earthen pots. In one was put chipped rice with condensed milk, and in the other chipped rice with yogurt. All the other people sat in groups around the platform. No one could count how many people were there. Each and every one of them was supplied 2 pots, chipped rice in yogurt and chipped rice soaked in condensed milk. Some of the Brahmins, not having got a place on the platform, went to the bank of the Ganges with their 2 pots and soaked their chipped rice there. Others who couldn't get a place even on the bank got down into the water and began eating their 2 kinds of chipped rice. Thus some sat on the platform, some at the base of the platform, and some on the bank of the Ganges, and they were all supplied 2 pots by the 20 men who distributed the food. At that time, Raghava Pandit arrived there. Seeing the situation, he began to laugh in great surprise. He brought many kinds of food cooked in ghee and offered to the Lord. This,
Actually, in the Bengali, it says, is it muri? Muri or some other word for rice? Because I heard before a commentary that there was an instruction of soaking muris with yogurt because there were also Muslims who were present, and Muslims, they cannot eat something which was cooked by Hindus, and there was this suggestion of taking muris
Yes.
and distributing them with yogurt and condensed milk. So not
On this occasion or other? Oh, this, yeah.
I could be wrong, but from what I hear, it seems like on this that those who were on the banks of Ganges, not only Hindu but also Muslims, took it because they could take it because it was
uncooked.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I like to know.
But muddy soaked in did you say water or milk? It'd be very.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be. It would just be. Go to mush, huh?
Insubstantial.
Yeah, it would just be like mush, Chipped rice would still remain solid, even when soaked. Quite solid-ish, yeah. I don't know. You may be right. I don't know what
Did they say muri or is there some other word?
What when it's saying about chipped rice?
Yeah.
No, chida.
Chida.
Is chipped rice, yeah. Mudi is actually spelled M-U-D-I. There's mudi and there's chida. They pronounce it mudi. There's mudi, yeah. Which is like rice, isn't it? Puffed rice. Like Rice Krispies without the riboflavin and vitamins, so-called vitamins. Yeah. So, and Raghava Pandit, what was he famous for? Raghava Pandit, you heard about the festival, so he was there in a flash. Huh? Pardon? Yeah, he came to the festival. But he was famous for something, that when the devotees were all going down to Puri from Bengal, he would go with them and he would carry, what would he carry? He was famous for carrying prasadam in bags. It's called the bags of Raghava Pandit. He'd cook everything at home and offer it to his deity, and he'd put them in bags, and that was considered a very special prasad. So he was a prasadam man. That was his speciality in the Leela. So he brought many kinds of food cooked in ghee and offered to the Lord. This prasadam he first placed before Lord Nityananda and then distributed among the devotees. Prabhu kahe, Thoma lagi bhog lagaila, tumi ihan utsav kor ghare prasada rahila. Raghava Pandit said to Lord Nityananda, "For you, sir, I have already offered food to the deity, but you are engaged in a festival here, and so the food is lying there untouched." Prabhu ke, "Ei dravya dine kore bhojan, ratre tomar ghare prasad kharemu bhakkan." Lord Nityananda replied, "Let me eat all this food here during the day, and I shall eat at your home at night." Gopa jati ami bahu gopa gano sange, ami sukh pai e pulin bhojan range. I belong to a community of cowherd boys, and therefore I generally have many cowherd associates with me. I'm happy when we eat together in a picnic like this by the sandy bank of the river. Lord Nityananda made Raghava Pandit sit down and had 2 pots delivered to him also. There were 2 kinds of chipped rice soaked in them. When the chipped rice had been served to everyone, Lord Nityananda Prabhu in meditation brought Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived, Lord Nityananda Prabhu stood up. They then saw how the others were enjoying the chipped rice with yogurt and condensed milk. But this was a mystical thing that everybody couldn't see Lord Karanga. He brought him there in meditation, and some very fortunate devotees could see that he was present. From each and every pot, Lord Nityananda Prabhu took one morsel and pushed it into the mouth of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a joke. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, also smiling, took a morsel of food, pushed it into the mouth of Nityananda and laughed as he made him eat it. In this way, Lord Nityananda was walking through all the groups of eaters, and all the Vaishnavas there were seeing the fun. but no one could understand what he was doing as he walked about. Some, however, who were very fortunate, could see that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also present. So when the expression and when the intensity of love for the Lord reaches a level of intensity, it's like when if you heat, metal, and it becomes red hot, and then at a certain point the red goes to white, isn't it? Goes into white hot. So at a certain point of intensity of devotion, then who had that kind of devotion, then they'd be able to have the Lord's darshan, right? Like with the same with the holy name, chanting the holy name. So, like it said that Narottam Thakur, when he would personally sing kirtan, then Lord Gauranga and Nityananda would personally come and dance there. But again, only maybe some devotees were able to experience this, not everyone. Then Nityananda Prabhu smiled and sat down. On his right side he kept 4 pots of chip rice that had not been made from boiled paddy. Lord Nityananda offered Lord Sri Chaitanya a place and had him sit down. Then together the 2 brothers began eating chip rice. Seeing Lord Chaitanya eating with him, Lord Nityananda Prabhu became very happy and exhibited varieties of ecstatic love. Does that mean the chip rice that hadn't been made from boiled paddy, but were made from raw, that was considered better, or maybe it doesn't say, it's uncooked? Oh, anyway. Lord Nityananda Prabhu ordered, "All of you eat," chanting the holy name of Hari. Immediately the holy names Hari, Hari resounded, filling the entire universe. When all the Vaishnavas were chanting the holy names and eating, they remembered how Krishna and Balaram ate with their companions, the cowherd boys, on the banks of the Jamuna. The 2 lords are extremely merciful and liberal. It was Raghunath Das's good fortune that they accepted all these dealings. Who can understand the influence and mercy of Lord Nityananda Prabhu? He is so powerful that he induced Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to come and eat chip rice on the bank of the Ganges. All the confidential devotees who were cowherd boys, headed by Sri Ramdas, were absorbed in ecstatic love. They thought the bank of the Ganges to be the banks of the Jamuna. When the shopkeepers of many other villages heard about the festival, they arrived there to sell chip rice, yogurt, sweetmeats and bananas. As they came, bringing all kinds of food, Raghunath Das purchased it all. He gave them the price for their goods and later fed them the very same food. Anyone who came to see how these funny things were going on was also fed chip rice, yogurt and bananas. After Lord Nityananda Prabhu finished eating, he washed his hands and mouth and gave Raghunath Das the food remaining in the 4 pots. There was food remaining in the 3 other big pots of Lord Nityananda, and a Brahmin distributed it to all the devotees, giving a morsel to each. Then a Brahmin brought a flower garland, placed the garland on Nityananda Prabhu's neck, and smeared sandalwood pulp all over his body. When a servant brought betel nuts and offered them to the Lord Nityananda, the Lord smiled and chewed them. With his own hands, Lord Nityananda distributed to all the devotees whatever flower garlands, sandalwood pulp and betel nuts remained. After receiving these remnants, Raghunath Das, who was greatly happy, ate some and distributed the rest among his own associates. Thus I've described the pastimes of Lord Nityananda Prabhu in relation to the celebrated festival of chip rice and yogurt. Nityananda Prabhu rested for the day, and when the day ended he went to the temple of Raghava Pandit and began congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. He first influenced all the devotees to dance, and finally he himself began dancing, thus inundating the entire world in ecstatic love. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was observing the dancing of Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu could see this, but the others could not. The dancing of Lord Nityananda, like the dancing of Sri Chaitanya, cannot be compared to anything within these three worlds. No one can properly describe the sweetness of Lord Nityananda's dancing. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally comes to see it. After the dancing and after Lord Nityananda had rested, Raghava Pandit submitted his request that the Lord take supper. Lord Nityananda Prabhu sat down for supper with his personal associates and made a sitting place on his right side for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord came there and sat down at his place. Seeing this, Raghava Pandit felt increasing happiness. He brought the prasadam before the two brothers and thereafter distributed prasadam to all the other Vaishnavas. There were varieties of cakes, sweet rice and fine cooked rice that surpassed the taste of nectar. There were also varieties of vegetables. The food prepared and offered to the deity by Raghava Pandit was like the essence of nectar. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there again and again to eat such prasadam. When Raghava Pandit offered the food to the deity after cooking, he would make a separate offering for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Every day the Lord would eat at the house of Raghava Pandit. Sometimes he would give Raghava Pandit the opportunity to see him. Means not always. Sometimes he would come and take the prasadam hiddenly. Maybe he thought, oh, today Lord hasn't come. I don't know, but so these are very mystical events, Raghava Pandit would bring and distribute prasadam to the two brothers, feeding them with great attention. They ate everything, and therefore there were no remnants left. He brought so many presentations that no one could know them perfectly. Indeed, it was a fact that the Supreme Mother, Radharani, personally cooked in the house of Raghava Pandit. Srimati Radharani received from Durvasha Muni the benediction that whatever she cooked would be sweeter than nectar. That is the special feature of her cooking. Aromatic and pleasing to see, the food was the essence of all sweetness. Thus the two brothers, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu, ate it with great satisfaction. All the devotees present requested Raghunath Das to sit down and take prasadam, but Raghava Pandit told them he would take prasadam later. So remember, he was just really a boy at this time, quite young, Raghunath Das. This is before he met the Lord, went to Puri and those pastimes. So, but it says he was already completely internally renounced from the material attachment to the things of the material world, even in his household life. But that manifested later when he was in Vrindavan with Rupa and Sanatan. That's what we call Yukta Vairagya, or renunciation in devotion. So the devotion comes first, and the renunciation or the Vairagya, detachment, is a natural outcome of that. It's not the other way round. That by being renounced, by being detached, one gets devotion. No, he was so much devoted that there's no time to sleep or eat or anything. So that's the attachment to Krishna and absorption in the pastimes of Krishna meant that he was, at certain times he was not even hardly aware of the material world. He would go into his spiritual body and be experiencing his service to Krishna in that way, and then he'd come back into his sadhaka body again, as Raghunath Das Goswami, on the bank, sitting on the banks of Radha Kund. But he was so much absorbed that even Sanatana Goswami was, because they say at that time there were tigers. It was obviously not like now, it was very wild, and also a lot of forestation. Now the forest is almost gone to external vision, right? in Bhumi Vrindavan. But so Sanatana Goswami wanted to make him a hut, to protect him from the sun and from the wild animals. So he had that built for him. So
I said people around were getting worried about some tiger eating him up.
yeah. But they say the tiger used to come and lap the water, Radha Kund, right next to him, and he'd just be absorbed, and even... Because when he went to Puri, you'll hear that later, and Lord Chaitanya put him under the instruction of Sripad Damodar Goswami. So, and we talk about Rup and Rati. Srila Rupa Goswami has Rupa Manjari, and Rati Manjari is Raghunath Das Goswami. So Rupa and Rati, they're very close. So in the Chaitanya Leela, he was under the guidance of Sripad Damodar. But when Lord Chaitanya left the world, and I think shortly after that, Sripad Damodar also left. Then he was very upset. I mean, he was completely bereft and didn't know what to do. And he said his idea was he'd go to Vrindavan and end his life there, commit suicide there. But they say that when he went to Vrindavan and when he met with Rupa and Sanatan, he got his life back because he felt the presence of Lord Chaitanya in them so intensely that he felt rejuvenated and he gave up that idea. So, so here Raghava Pandit is telling the devotees, oh, you have your prasad, and this boy Raghunath, he'll take later. He's like that. He's like older man, Raghava Pandit. All the devotees took prasadam, filling themselves to the brim. Thereafter, chanting the holy name of Hari, they stood up and washed their hands and mouths. After eating, the two brothers washed their hands and mouths. Then Raghava Pandit brought flower garlands and sandalwood pulp and decorated them. He offered them betel nuts and worshipped their lotus feet. He also distributed betel nuts, flower garlands and sandalwood to the devotees. Being very merciful towards Raghunath Das, Raghava Pandit offered him the dishes with the remnants of food left by the two brothers. Kahil, Chaitanya Gosai kori jachena bhojan, tonno shesha paile, tomar khondila bandhan. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has eaten this food. If you take his remnants, you will be released from the bondage of your family. The Supreme Personality of Godhead always resides either in the heart or in the home of a devotee. This fact is sometimes hidden and sometimes manifest, for the Supreme Personality of Godhead is fully independent. He is all-pervasive, and therefore he resides everywhere. Anyone who doubts this will be annihilated. He says, Ihoy, ihote shangshaijar, se joya nash. Nash means annihilated. In the morning, after taking his bath in the Ganges, Nityananda Prabhu sat down with his associates beneath the same tree under which he had previously sat. Raghunath Das went there and worshipped Lord Nityananda's lotus feet. Through Raghava Pandit, he submitted his desire. So when in their first meeting, he couldn't really meet directly or talk with Lord Nityananda because there were so many people there, and he offered his obeisance right from behind them all at the back. And, Lord Nityananda was jokingly saying, oh, you're a thief, come here. And he put his lotus feet on his head. But here, the next day, the festival was finished, and then the Lord was sitting there quietly just with a few devotees, so he was able to go there and express his desire. Adham pamar mui hina jivadham, mor ichcha hoy pana chaitanya charan. I am the lowest of men, the most sinful, fallen and condemned. Nevertheless, I desire to attain shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Baman hana jena chanda dhari bari choy, aneka jotna khainu thatte kabu siddha hanoi. Like a dwarf who wants to catch the moon, I've tried my best many times, but I've never been successful. Every time I tried to go away and give up my home, relationships, my father and mother unfortunately kept me bound. No one can attain the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without your mercy. But if you are merciful, even the lowest of men can attain shelter at his lotus feet. Although I am unfit and greatly afraid to submit this plea, I nevertheless request you, sir, to be especially merciful towards me by granting me shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is what we call transcendental boldness in spiritual life. So although the quality of humility is greatly praised, indeed she is the mother of all virtues, just as the mother of all sins is pride, and from that pride, ahamkara we would say, which means ultimately separate interest from the Lord, all the other things come, calm, crowd, lobe, etc. So similarly from humility, all the virtues come from that. That's why it was so much praise by Lord Chaitanya, who said, he told the devotees to wear that verse around their neck, Trinada peace and each, be more tolerant than the tree and more humble than the grass. But at the same time, there's a kind of a spiritual audacity which can be employed by the devotee, which might seem to be overstepping the bounds of, politeness or propriety, but believing that the mercy of the Lord is the greatest of his qualities, patita pavan, then with that idea, saying that if you are indeed the saviour of the most fallen, and I am truly the most fallen, then your mercy must come to me. You have no choice. So with this audacity, the devotee, can approach the Lord. So that's what he's doing here with Raghunath Das, especially, of course, in the case of Nityananda Prabhu, who is the in charge of the mercy department, as opposed to the justice department. Placing your feet on my head, give me the benediction that I may achieve the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu without difficulty. I pray for this benediction. After hearing this appeal by Raghunath Das, Lord Nityananda smiled and told all the devotees, Ihar Vishai Shuk Indra Shukasam. Raghunath Das's standard of material happiness is equal to that of Indra, the king of heaven. Because of the mercy bestowed upon him by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Raghunath Das, although situated in such material happiness, does not like it at all. Therefore let every one of you be merciful toward him and give him the benediction that he may very soon attain shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is a transcendental situation, because Raghunath Das is saying, without your mercy, Nityananda Prabhu, it's not possible I will attain the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Nityananda Prabhu said, it's because of the mercy bestowed upon him already by Lord Chaitanya that he has become renounced from his material life. So, which comes first? I mean, it's hard to say, but there. Okay, so then Lord Nityananda says, ask the devotees that all of you bless him and give him your mercy, so that he can attain shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. So this is the transcendental fact of it, that without the mercy of the devotees, you cannot attain the mercy of the Lord, because the Lord and the devotees are one whole, yes? Like the whole and the parts, you can say. They can't be separated. Shakti, Shaktiman. So it's like you can't get one by crossing over the other. It's not possible. So wherever you see the Lord, you will always be with a devotee or some associate, or at least even Krishna. Even if you would see Krishna without the gopas or gopis, with cow, or there's some paraphernalia or living beings, It's all one organic whole. So one who experiences the fragrance of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna doesn't value even the standard of happiness available to Brahmalok, the topmost planet. And what to speak of heavenly happiness? And Lord Nityananda Prabhu quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam. It doesn't mention it, whether it was actually spoken by Lord Nityananda, this quotation, or Kaviraj Goswami is putting that in to illustrate what he's just said. But the verse is here from 5th canto, 14th chapter, 43rd verse. Quote, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is offered sublime poetic prayers by those trying to attain his favour. Thus he's known as the name of Krishna, who's offered very choice prayers. Here's a clue. One name for Krishna. What's the name of Lord Jagannath in Puri? One of the names.
Marrakesh?
Huh?
Marrakesh?
No, in Puri. Okay. Here's another going back even further. What 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita? It's called. Oh my God. Okay, you know every chapter in Bhagavad Gita is called something yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. 15th chapter is called Purushottam Yoga. So Lord Jagannath is called Purushottam, and Purushottam means Purusha Uttam, the Supreme Person. Yeah, Supreme Person. Purush means person. Generally, or they say male, like Purusha Prakriti. Like this. Person or male, the Supreme Person, Purushottam Yoga, 15th chapter. So, taking that last part, Uttam, the name for Krishna who's offered very choice prayers is something shlok. Uttama shlok, yes. So, being very eager to gain the association of Lord Krishna, King Bharat, although in the prime of youth, gave up his very attractive wife, affectionate children, most beloved friends, and opulent kingdom, exactly as one gives up stool after excreting it. That was a little bit graphic there. But that's Bharat, who later became Bharat Maharaj, in the story of the deer.
Was it when the kids were 18, right?
I don't know. No, I think it's before then. Because it says in the prime of his youth, he gave up his wife and children. They were probably smaller than that. They didn't wait till they left school and got married and had a job. And then that's a great story of Bharat Maharaj. He's a Shuddha Bhakta, but in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it's describing among Shuddha Bhaktas there are also divisions and levels of from going up. So he's one type of Shuddha Bhakta.
Shuddha means
pure. Yeah. So Bharat Maharaj, that unusual example of where he thought of the deer at the time of death, and to become a deer from one life. But he was blessed that even though he had to take a deer's body because of his attachment to the deer, because of all the devotional service he'd done before, Svalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. In the Gita, Krishna says, a little advancement on this path, little devotional service will save one from the greatest fear. It's in Srila Prabhupada's translation, Mahabhayam, which means the fear of repeated birth and death. Or we could say that the great fear of complete darkness and ignorance, i.e. in subhuman or animal life, with no possibility of any consciousness or remembrance of Krishna. That would be the great fear, right? Much more than any other thing you can really think of. So, but the mercy was that in the body of a deer, he was able to maintain human consciousness. And so therefore he he didn't do deer things much. I mean, he didn't mix with the other deers. He was on his own, just by himself, kind of, and then waiting for his leave that body, and then he became Jad Bharat. In the next life, he was Jad Bharat. That's in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. You know the story of Jad Bharat. Jad, yeah. Jad means something very dull and stupid. Jad, you know, like, so that he behaved as if he was a dull person, foolish person, idiot. So people would leave him alone, wouldn't disturb him. But he had a very strong body as well. And that's why he was employed by the king to carry his palanquin. And they saw him and they said, oh, he's very good. We need an extra person. One of them dropped out. Didn't say why they dropped out. Maybe he was sick or isolating or something. Sorry. So he will do the job, and that's very strong. So he was carrying, but he was not able to carry the palanquin very well because he was avoiding the ants on the road, stepping this side, that side, and it was shaking like this. And the king began to chastise him. He said, oh, put me down, you know. And then he chastised him. What are you doing? You can't even carry this palanquin properly, and you're so foolish, this, that, and this. And then Jad Bharat, he began to talk to the king, preached to him actually, very nicely. And there's a whole chapter in Srimad Bhagavatam. Jad Bharat preaches to Maharaj Rahugana. Yeah, and very nice, very philosophical, you know, saying you're chastising me, but you don't know, what are you talking? Are you talking to my body? Who are you talking to? Do you know? And everything. So anyway, after that, the king realized he's a great Vaishnav, and he begged forgiveness, and they let him go, and then the story continues after that. So that reminds me of, I was telling you the other day about, I think it's in the 11th canto, about where the rishi is asking the person about, they're having a discussion, and then the rishi says to the king, you're talking so much about your kingdom and your body, but do you know to whom this body belongs, your body? Who is it the property of? He says, is it the property of your parents, you know, who gave it, brought it into being, gave it birth? Is it the property of, you know, their parents and their parents, you know, your ancestors? Or is it the property of the one who employs it, you know, who maintains it, right? Or is it the property of the wife who gives it pleasure? Is it the property of the rishis who give it knowledge? Is it the property of the funeral pyre or the jackals and dogs who eat it? So to whom does it belong, actually? And of course we know the answer. It belongs to Krishna. So Atma and Paramatma, yeah. So thus Lord Nityananda called Raghunath Das near him, placed his lotus feet upon Raghunath Das's head, and began to speak. Tumi je korel ei pulina bojan, thomai kripa kari gaura kaila agaman. My dear Raghunath Das, since you arranged the feast on the bank of the Ganges, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came here just to show you his mercy. By his causeless mercy, he ate the chipped rice and milk. Then, after seeing the dancing of the devotees at night, he took his supper. Lord Gaura Hari came here personally to deliver you. Now rest assured that all the impediments meant for your bondage are gone. The Lord will accept you and place you under the charge of his secretary, Sripad Damodar. You will thus become one of the most confidential internal servants and will attain shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Being assured of all this, return to your own home. Very soon, without impediments, you will attain shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's one of the reasons why the scriptures say one shouldn't praise or blame the qualities of others, okay, conditioned souls, as we are, right? And particularly to criticize. It said sometimes one can praise them in devotional sense, but because we don't know that person, they may be showing different things, but just like gold, a nugget of gold is gold. It doesn't matter if it's hidden in a pile of dirt or coal. We don't know when that external covering is going to be removed by Krishna. Perhaps even Krishna could be even keeping it there for some purpose of his own, or to show something to others, or to teach the person themselves. There could be many things. So we should always try to avoid that. The only time one can validly really criticize another is if one is in a position of authority over them, i.e. as a guru or mentor to them. And that means that doesn't mean putting oneself in that position, but that means as accepted by that person to be that. So then one, for the benefit of that disciple or person, then they for their correction, for their betterment, but that's and even that, as we know with the example from the devotees, even that is not a relishable activity for them, but it's taken as an abhiman, or a particular energy that comes within them by the special arrangement of Krishna for the correction of that person, that guru abhiman, okay, for their chastisement. It's not their normal way of being or state of being. Their normal way of being is to think that they are the servant of the devotees, and to serve the devotees, that I am unable to perform my own service successfully without the help of others. So Krishna has very kindly sent these people to help me in my service, so that is their mood. But for the necessity of helping that person, sometimes that mood may come in them and then is withdrawn again. So, we can see that by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, his example on several occasions, which is amazing really to think that was so, really that's his genuine way of thinking, not just like a false humility, but so here definitely by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu one can get the mercy of Mahaprabhu. By this example, this is the example that's given mainly for that. Nitya Karuna Habe, Braja Radha Krishna Habe. Without the mercy of Nityananda, you can't get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, and without the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, you will never enter the service of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. In our line, that is. That is very specifically the grace and the mercy of our line, what's called the Rupa Anuga Sampradaya. Others in their lineage of Krishna consciousness, other Vaishnava Sampradayas also may be different. But for us, it's like that. It's absolutely indistinguishable. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahi Anna. And as we were saying the other day, in the Prema Vivata book by Jagadananda Pandit, although some people say that was actually penned by Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself in the name of Jagadananda Pandit, but as Guru Maharaj said, whatever is the case, even if that's the case, then we can be very happy to say that was another book by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But the first chapter of that book is on this point. Don't think that Lord Chaitanya is a sub-incarnation of Krishna, or even Radha and Krishna. But he is absolutely non-different from Radha and Krishna. So who comes first? You cannot say. You cannot say, first there was Radha and Krishna, and then later on in Kali Yuga, they merged and incarnated Lord Chaitanya. No, you can't say that. Because what about previous kalpas and previous Kali Yugas? It's going in rotation. Sometimes one and sometimes separated for pastimes and sometimes together as one. So that's our particular, or line or understanding about Lord Chaitanya. And we'll finish there because there's a lot more of this. And this telling now, continuing, we can read that the next time, about how he left home with great difficulty and met with Lord Chaitanya in Puri, and his pastimes in Puri as he was going through his kind of like, you could say, transformation, into Raghunath Das Goswami, and how he'd be begging, by the gate in the temple. And then he began to think, oh, this begging also is not very good. He began to think, he said, oh, it's like a prostitute. Like in the 11th canto, in the story of the Brahmin with 24 gurus, and one of his gurus was Pingala, the prostitute. And she would wait by her door late at night, against her doorway, and looking at the people coming past, and she'd be like going, oh, this one, yeah, he'll come. He looks very rich, He'll give lots of money, you'll enjoy with him like this. And then he goes past. She goes, oh, no. Oh, this one, definitely, And then in that example, why he accepted her as one of his gurus was she was the emblem of detachment. Because after a long time of this, she just became disgusted, and she went into a house and lay down on a bed. She thought, what is this crazy life, I should give it all up and just surrender to Krishna. And so that was one of his 24 gurus as an example. So Raghunath Das Goswami was saying he was considering it like that, in that mood, that prostitute, like looking at people, will he give me food? Will they give me food? Or do they have nice food? They look rich, yes, maybe I can get some nice food. He became disgusted with that, so he stopped doing that, and he'd just go behind the wall of the temple and dig around in the ground and find some old rice that had been chucked over the wall by the priests. And it was half rotten, so even the cows wouldn't eat it. They'd go and eat the fresher rice on the other side. So you take that rice, put it in some water, rinse it all off, wipe it, put some salt, and take that. And then Lord Chaitanya met him by the gate, and he said, oh, give me some of that prasad, Mahaprasad. And he goes, no, Lord. And no, give me. Why are you denying me this nectar? So this was, so already you can see there. So he was already going to his mood of extreme renunciation, and later he went to Vrindavan and many pastimes. And he wrote many books as well, several books, which are very special, and very high books about Krishna's pastimes. Particularly one book called Vilapa Kushumanjali, you might have heard of it. And this book means Kushumanjali, like we say Pushpanjali. So it's a flower garland. Kushumanjali, Vilap means separation. So it's a garland of separations from Radharani. Just like one after another, like waves coming. And in these verses of this book, it's very intense and it's a very high book. Generally you don't read this book, but sometimes some verses are quoted, even here in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and by Guru Maharaj, sometimes quotes some verses. Particularly that verse, it's in Sri Guru and His Grace at the end, near the end of the book. We're quoting Raghunath Das Goswami saying, speaking to Radharani there, he's saying, without you, even this Vrindavan and Govardhan, all of it is like, it's very terrifying, very scary to me. Without you there, without your shelter, and under the shelter of your lotus feet, and serving Krishna through that way, even Krishna, I have no taste or no interest. So much intense attachment for the service of Radharani. He said, like, Govardhan is like a python coming to, because like a hill is like that, right? It's got like terraces going up. So it's like a python going to crush me. And Radha Kund is like a tiger, with a big open mouth of a tiger coming to swallow me. So the very things which are the most, normally are the most remembering of Krishna, that would be so intimately connected with Krishna and giving so much impetus and so much beautiful arrangement for the service of Krishna, those very things become horrible without you. Do you follow? It's a very high sentiment. It's very special. Guru Maharaj is mentioning that there. So, as I'll just finish with this. I'm sure you know the story when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was doing the parikrama of Radha Kund and with his group, and there was another group on the other side, come from Calcutta with some personality, maybe a high court judge or something, important person with their group, and they were also doing the parikrama where you do dandavats, and then standing up, you put the stone there where your fingertip is, and you go to that place. Then you go down, so in this way you go dandavats all the way round, and they were doing like that. And devotee remarked to Saraswati Thakur, "Oh, Maharaj, just see, they have so much devotion for Radharani." And he said, they're just opposite to us. They honour Radharani because she has some connection with Krishna, and they like Krishna. And because she keeps some connection, they honour her also. But we're just the opposite. We are for Radharani. And because Krishna is keeping her association, we also honour to Krishna. Like that. Sorry, that's a bit much, isn't it? Huh?
Completely different inside.
Yeah.
But externally it looks exactly the same.
Yeah. But this is the example of the attachment to the service, rather dasa anudas, in a particular line. Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much. Would you like to
That's why they say not to
sing us out?
associate with the Vrindavan Rajabasis.
Yes.
Their form of worship, even though it looks very similar, the
Yeah.
inside is completely different. And
Yeah.
people are not very solid.
Yes. Yes. We were saying the other day, because Lord Chaitanya said to Jagadananda Pandit, when he finally allowed him to go to Vrindavan, but 4 things, he gave 4 conditions, right? First was, stay under the guidance of Rupa and Sanatan there. Don't stay a long time, 3 days, he mentioned. And don't walk on the Govardhan hill, that's Krishna himself. And last is, don't associate intimately with the Vrajvasis. Because although they're very fortunate from the point that they've taken birth in Vrindavan, so their connection with Krishna that way, but at the same time, their present practices may not be good or helpful for us. For example, there was even an example, one devotee was asking in a class, I heard, he saw the Babaji, washing his chapel, his shoes in Radha Kund, and the devotee, he said, how can we, and the way he answered was quite nice. He said, he thought for a while, and he said, that's, because they're Dambasis, then Krishna, he may look the other way, but we can't do that, Yeah, so, and we weren't even allowed to bathe in Radha Kund, we just put the water on the head.
Yeah, we said the other day about one devotee who wanted to, says, is it all right if I just don't got my feet in there to cool my feet?
Yeah.
He said, no.
Yeah.
So he said, something
I can't remember. No, that's not
he
really
asked
allowed.
him- he asked
But, these things are very inconceivable because sometimes we may even see, like the teachings and the examples given by our own Guru Maharaj, sometimes like, and this isn't to criticize anyone, but when we went to Radha Kund, our parikrama, and the devotees were all diving and jumping in Radha Kund. I actually said to Tirtha Maharaj, who was there, Maharaj, you know what, because he was like in charge, and I thought maybe you should stop it or something. But what did I know? I was like very new, But I was quite shocked, and he just, what to do, It's like that, Sometimes it's like that also,
You cannot fake the real sentiment. Someone who like understands and have some
Yeah.
feeling towards it, that is self-evident. But if it's not there, even if you say not to, it would be just following the instructions.
Yeah.
You don't understand why.
Yeah. Yeah. So even I may have been right in my sentiment. Yes, Guru Maharaj said that. I heard that. That's correct. But still, for me, as a new devotee, I may not have been right to have, been critical or been. So there's layers and layers, layers within layers. So we're very careful, what is when we're entering those realms. Like Guru Maharaj said, a crime against the higher, then that door will be closed. You won't be allowed to go up. So the devotees are praying, knowingly or unknowingly, I'm making so many offences, but O Madhusudan, you are the saviour of the fallen, and please protect me. So it's part of the morning prayers we say in the Archana, Thousands of offences are committed by me day and night. But being very merciful, please forgive those, O Madhusudana. Yeah. Jai. You're chanting? Thanks. Grantaraj, Sri Chaitanya Charitamritam ki jai, Sri Krishna Sakaraj Goswami ki jai, Sat Goswami Prabhu ki jai, Sri Gurudev ki jai, Sri Guru Maharaj ki jai, Sri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Kari Asha Sankirtana Kohi Nartamodasa Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitya Gaura Haribol, 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 Nitya Gaura Haribol. Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Gaura Premanand. Hare Krishna.